And we're still staring into her soulless eyes,
Dead eyes like a
gentlemen.
shark's eyes.
Dead stare. But I bring you with a bonus video, together with Kaboom Dragoon.
Yo.
Sorry you have to go again so...
We're not sorry at all. In fact, we're gonna look at the timeline. Not really much has changed, just this last little bit they put in the end. But mainly all the Chapter 6 stuff that you don't get to see until you've actually won the game and play a new game, because they don't give you the option to look at the CTI files.
I've probably forgotten about it
between
by that
Chapter
point.
5. No, how can you look at the CTI files if you don't have a computer near you when you're diving into the babble?
Yeah, no, it's just about, by the time you actually get a chance to look at them, you've probably forgotten what the hell's going on. Or forgotten that there is actually the opportunity to look at new stuff.
Possibly not, because you still got the emails to look forward to.
Well, you say look forward to.
Well, they're kind of interesting to read. It is kind of rude of Aya just to go rummaging through people's mails and stuff.
But she's
not
a
very nice of
heroine,
her.
so she's got like an omniscient license to be a complete jerk to everyone. Because hero.
I'm a hero. Sorry.
Screw you! I saved your ass. Well, except in that one timeline, but we can laugh about it now.
And there's not really too much new other than they were twisted. Or a high one.
Everyone was a high one in Purgatory.
Yeah, and they mentioned Thelonious Cray, that his brush with death, and blah blah blah. A couple updates there, and maybe Gabrielle's reasoning. But here's something new. Owen has antique lures, and they were sold on an auction house for a lot of money. Yeah, and now this person could die happy at the hands of the Twisted.
Well, that just blows the storyline wide open for me.
Well, they were talking about that he was a fishing enthusiast and stuff. But where would he get such antique lures that were so expensive?
I wonder.
And that's still full of bullshit. Strong sense of... No.
Well, he's got some strong senses, just nothing that I would consider sort of thing you can talk about in public.
So here we have the Mudflap. Putrid Puppet Master. These jerks. Well, there's only very few of them. And they're not that bad, really. You can at least kill them, unlike the worms.
Once you go twisted,
you
you never go back.
That was bad. But I will be going through all the Twisted files too, and going through all the pages, because I do not believe I've gone through all the additional pages in the new playthrough. In fact, I don't think I have any of the, or at least not very many of the additional pages unlocked, because that requires, again, shooting them with different weapons, hitting their weak points, killing enough of them, stuff like that. I hate you, Reaper. I hate you.
I'm sorry.
Horrible
I'm sorry
memories.
I couldn't hear you over the sound of making blood walls and being invincible.
Yeah. Infuriating. Divinity of Doom. I don't understand the point of that name, but okay. Or tagline.
It's connected to God somehow?
Got the bosses. They don't have extra pages. Kind of boring. But this one we haven't seen before. Well, most of these actually. Mainly just the Hydeboar ones, because they're things that get unlocked after it. And yeah. And this one has additional pages too. Into the psychic world, and incomparable strength. I don't know. He's kind of weak for a boss. And good old Slacker. Bloodthirsty simpleton. That sounds about
Yeah.
right.
Oh look, someone I can kill. Herp derp.
Two-faced death dancer. Well, they do a lot of dancing, but I don't see much death.
Nor faces. Bit too grandiose.
Ruthless drone. Well, I guess they are drones. And it doesn't really matter if you hit their weak spot or not, because they just die in one shot anyways. I still like the Snatchers though, as far as an enemy. They're not too tough. They
Beans.
show yeah, beans. But I actually quite like the Snatchers, the whole design behind them, and that they can take your overdiving cards out of the game, and the fact that they're not too tough, they're not too strong, and you can kill them at a decent time, even on the hardest difficulty. It's not bad.
Arachnoid Death Trap. Great name for a band.
Somebody make it happen. Parallel universes. Sinister Quagmire, the Detector.
Coming up at an all-new Family Guy tonight at 9.
Fiery Fiend, more like Fiery Jerk. I have a deep-seated hate for worms, even if you only have to kill 3 of them throughout the entire game. You know, on foot.
You only have to kill 3 on foot, but it's something
They're a mini boss on their own.
That will last, so that will stay with you for a long time.
So here's some of the key person file that I have been avoiding because they do contain spoilers. They contain horrible amounts of spoilers. And here they talk about Eve and Aya and stuff that happened, and nobody knows this person. And
Yeah, that's what we were talking
Except for
about
one
earlier.
herself.
How, you know, physically she's about 13 or 14, but you know, she's really only like 4 or 5.
yeah, and here they mentioned that he was part of a, his background for the second game and things that happened in the wedding and in the present, future, and his cryptic last words before he takes off. Even though in theory he should be dead, but then he was all right, which they don't explain. I'm guessing time sort of snapped back in some
Weird time shit. Don't
They
question
never
it.
explained it. Yeah.
You think this is bad? Try reading
And-
Homestuck sometime. That's all I'll say.
Sounds fun.
Oh yeah, it's a delight. I love it.
And they talk about Eve and that she was meeting Rib in the diary, and it states here that Rib was actually Eve because the whole Adam's rib. That's what Eve was made from, and all that.
Yeah,
Right?
that,
So it's actually the fact that she wrote that she's meeting Rib in her diary at the concert was kind of smart because she was meeting Eve in Aya's body there. So yeah, in that sense, okay, that's pretty smart. I got that, and there's a little about the songstress that was on the stage that died in the very beginning of the game. We barely knew her. And first states that she died and all of her money went to the orphans.
Ginger
and then,
Skimbleshanks.
and then this time she survived and she got stabbed by a crazy fan, and then all her money went to people. And here's what I meant about Isabel and Craig. That she was alive. But then suddenly, the timeline changes way back before the Twisted even existed, and Isabella dies, and Craig goes completely batshit insane, and Craig sacrifices himself to the Twisted. So, the only theory behind that is Hydebore. He did it.
Yeah.
He killed an innocent little girl, and now that we've finally gotten to the emails, I know people probably been totally itching for this.
Frankly, I
So-
couldn't. After a while, I was having to tell people in the thread to shut up because the clamor for them was just unreal.
So pause them at your own leisure and read as you want. It's mostly just going to be talk about events that have happened at first, the first set of emails, and then it'll be like talking about Aya Brea's nightmare, her whole vision when she wakes up with the whole wedding being shot and all
That
that.
dream about the beaver and the pancake.
And a little bit about that singer Ginger. I don't understand why they focus so much conversation on her, but
Anyway, she shows up in one scene and dies horribly.
and
That's
they
it.
have to mention her several times. I get the feeling that they had more planned for her. And, they talk about a little about Emily there.
Yeah, she has a bigger scene, so she has a bigger presence in the game than Ginger, and yet.
And there's the whole thing about the babbles when you kill the queen, that it's kind of like that one babble starts dying off. So, that's what they kind of figure out there. And we'll also get to some emails where they get some replies from the psychiatrist who's looking over the information about Eve, and they go back and forth a little about that. A little bit of Kyle here. And they have some conversation about the babbles and some theories on
It's a plan if
it not
it's
just
a plan if a plant were a beehive somehow.
yeah, made of meat and concrete.
And occasionally taxis.
Exactly. And this is the response from the email about the dreams from the psychiatrist.
Dr. Wilson, eh?
And more interpretations. And then he's talking about quantum physics and how if time was changed to avoid paradoxes, that there'd be multiple timelines. Things that most people probably already know. And then there's the whole, small things like this, but they do kind of still, in between some of the emails, they do explain a lot of things, like background stuff for the most part, but like the whole thing where that, you actually did kill after killing the queen in the second episode, that you actually did kill the babble off slowly.
Of course, the really surprising part in all this is that Maeda's inbox isn't filled with porn.
Yeah, so get used to that they're calling themselves by code names from,
Wizard of Oz.
yeah, the Cowardly Lion, from the Wizard of Oz, Scarecrow, Cowardly Lion, Toto, Dorothy, and Tin Man. I think that's the 5 ones that are used. And here they get to a little bit more interesting information, but again, you have to play the harder difficulties to unlock these, so it kind of makes sense, I guess. But it's still mostly just banter, I guess. And then I talk a bit about twisted genomes, Kyle Madigan, and they mention that the high ones can't breed, which is actually one of the major plot points to why Hydebor is going back to Time Zero to make the ultimate being, which is about more or less the only reference to, or not reference, but more or less the only sort of link between Parasite Eve 1 and 2 and this game.
I'm sorry, you
always ends
you
with,
mentioned Time Zero again and I fell asleep.
Yeah. But it's more or less just the whole, you always fight the boss who wants to become the ultimate being or create the ultimate being. And I say that's probably the only thing they have in common with each other.
Oh, they also have characters named Aya and Eve. That sort of counts,
This
right?
game doesn't count.
There's also a Kyle. He's cool.
Okay, fair enough. They gave Kyle an awesome voice, at least. Kyle Winchester.
That name shall stick. I'm not sorry for this.
I've even been using it myself. Damn you.
I'm not sorry.
But, you know, they do talk a lot about the Babbles and how the Twisted are moving back in time and theorizing it that they, you know, that basically that the Twisted and the High Ones want to be the first one to go back in time and sort of fix their flaws. The Twisted one, they want a brain, and the High Ones want a womb. I frankly would have gone for the heart, but okay.
Yeah. Either way, it basically winds up to sort of genetic arms race, to quote
Yeah.
Bioshock there.
Pretty much. And here they talk about that the warehouse is actually a homemade bunker, I guess, out of a warehouse.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, well, considering you know that they're probably going to nuke the place soon.
Oh my Ada, you tease you. Well, I could say, but no. It's alright.
Yeah. And then they point out more that the High One special was intelligence and the Twisted special was breeding, but the Twisted don't have intelligence and the High Ones don't have breeding.
I can see that. I can
Genetics.
see that heading to a really, really bad fan fiction someday.
Yeah.
By our powers combined, my head just exploded.
Yeah, it's and they're decrypting something, and they mention more like the Babel being a huge wormhole, which you can use overdrive to travel back in time, and shadowy figures, stuff we basically already knew.
Sure would have been nice if they'd actually put this stuff in the story.
Instead of being able to unlock it on deadly
Yeah,
mode.
completely optional stuff.
This is about deadly
completely
mode.
optional stuff that you'd probably never even notice unless someone told you about it.
And a little nuclear bomb information, bigger than Hiroshima, blah blah. I guess they want to make sure it's dead and cooked. And here they mention the whole thing I spoke about before, where, you know, Isabella died before the Twisted even showed up. So, who killed Isabella? Hydebor. And they could travel back in time anyway, so... to their mother, the mother! Time Zero, the mother! I still think it's a dumb name. Time Zero before time. Or rather, a time before time.
No, sorry, I fell asleep again.
It's... but really, how is 3 years ago a time before time even existed?
You could kind of explain it as the origin point for where all the
Yes,
crazy
that is the whole
shenanigans
point.
happened. So it's,
That is the point of that, but it's just, it sounds dumb when you say
Yeah.
it. It makes you sound stupid, like you don't know what you're talking about.
I think really they're just trying to invoke the whole idea of Year Zero.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Year Zero, where
really
the creation of a new Aya Brea
Yeah.
was made. That isn't Eve and that isn't Aya, but both of them at the same time. And
unfortunately it just
and-
doesn't make as much sense because well, it's this game in a nutshell. Frankly, it doesn't make enough sense because
yeah, it doesn't make enough sense because they focused on fan service. There you go.
I mean, if anyone else in the thread wants to take a crack at it, by all means, you probably should be doing something better with your time, but go for it.
And now we're at the insane mode videos, the epilogue videos, where we basically get to see what has happened to the cast after the time has been quote unquote not fixed.
Gabrielle married a pig farmer?
Yeah.
That's really not.
And Owen is a corrupt bastard, and that's why he wanted to get back to his old job, because he was selling information off to terrorists.
Well, I never saw that coming.
That's where he got his lures from. He needed the money for his fancy lures.
Fishing, serious business.
Yeah. And don't know what happened to Blank, which kind of makes sense.
Crazy gardener now.
Yep, crazy gardener. But, hey, his family's alive because Hyde Boar was never there to fuck around with things.
Maida hasn't been arrested yet, which is probably more...
No, it's actually even worse. He got a prize. Ugh. He should not get a prize or anything.
I know. They give prizes for lengthy jail sentences, don't they?
Not quite.
Oh well.
The same thing. And here they speak of Hyde Boar, what his entire plot was, conspiracy this, conspiracy that. Hyde no longer exists in this world.
I wish this game no longer existed in this world.
And here she mentions she's an FBI agent on a secret operative team, but she can still feel the twisted in the future. Hint, hint. Go buy our sequel that we hopefully can con Square Enix into giving us money into making. Yeah. Yeah, that's basically the gist of it.
It's not. I don't know if it's out there, but kind of feel it. In my bones, somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in the caucus of my heart. Maybe in the subcaucus. Maybe even in the colon.
And yeah. And there I'm frustrated from reading that one email because I don't want a sequel. But we shall end the bonus video here. I hope you enjoyed it.